Welcome back. I'm Alexander, and today it's what we learned. I'll be talking about Ralph Waldo Emerson's book, Self Reliance, and other essays. What did we learn while we read this, or what did I learn while I read this? Before I dig into the meat of the book, I guess it's only right that I do like a brief intro about the guy, who he is, and why anyone should even care about his thoughts. So Ralph is or was born in 1803. He is a renowned essayist, lecturer, and poet. My brothers and sisters in the US of A probably know more about him than I do, but I sort of understand he had like a remarkable ability to like inspire others with like unique thoughts and perspectives on how on the human condition, let me put it that way, and like human nature. While reading the book, I also found that like a lot of his thoughts and his writings is not just for academics and intellectuals. I feel like anyone who's seeking general wisdom and personal growth could gain a lot of stuff from like his philosophy of life. Hopefully, that's enough reason for you to care about his thoughts, and or at least a little bit. Yeah, so let's dive in. So one of the first things, well, I did get a lot of stuff while reading this book, and that's one of the best things about this book. I also even didn't mention that the book was recommended by a friend because I've been thinking a lot about philosophy, and he told me that this book helped him a lot, so I did think to read it. Anyways, I think the first thing I pulled from this book, it probably wasn't the first thing, that might be a lie. But one of the things I pulled from the book, whether or not it was the first thing, I don't remember whether or not it was the first, but I know it was one of the memorable things, is this idea of disparaging your ideas. Anyways, Emerson urges us to trust our own inner light. Trust our own thoughts, our own ideas, even when it seems dim compared to like the dazzling brilliance of some popular people or the people we hold in higher regard. Say famous writers or wise sages, old people. It sort of encourages us not to dismiss our own thoughts simply because they are ours. And this is something that I tend to do. In fact, he believes that those seemingly like rejected thoughts, they often come back to us in like a majestic wisdom from other people. We should not like let our own ideas hide in like this shadow of self-doubt. Like we should embrace the spontaneous like impressions of thought that we get, even when the whole world seems to disagree, because oftentimes we hear a friend or a stranger echo something that sounds very wise, and then you're forced to recognize that I've had that idea before, but well, you didn't think it, you didn't say it out, or you probably didn't think it was worth saying just because it was your own idea. Probably not everyone in the world relates to this, because I do realize that some have a lot more confidence than others to say the stuff that they think. And this probably applies to people just like me who tend to hold back a lot because we disparage our ideas. We think that just because we're the one that thought them, someone else must have thought them more eloquently. And so we just choose not to speak them out, you know. So, that was something that I thought was really, really interesting. Yeah, the second thing is this fear of like contradicting yourself, the wisdom of memory. Um, Emerson here suggests that we shouldn't be tied down by like our past selves or the fear of contradicting our earlier opinions. And that is just like life. We grow every day, so we shouldn't be afraid that because our thoughts tomorrow could contradict the things that we said yesterday, then we shouldn't speak today, you know? Does that make sense? I hope it does. You shouldn't fear about what you shouldn't fear about speaking today just because your thoughts tomorrow could contradict what you think today. Instead, you should be open to learning and also be humble enough to know that you're not all knowing and that whatever you think today could be, those ideas could change, tomorrow. He sort of like believes that in living in the present moment, with the ever watchful eye of what the future may bring, this would allow us to embrace change and growth, which is like very necessary to I guess grow as a human. So don't worry about contradicting yourself. There's also something he said about I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something about foolish consistency is what little minds do. It's like you're trying so hard to be consistent that you're just choosing to dwell in stupid ideas and thoughts just because you don't want to be seen as someone who contradicts themselves. You should speak what you think now in like hard words, and tomorrow will speak what tomorrow speaks in hard words again. Even if you're misunderstood, as long as you have the humility to say that, well, that was what I thought yesterday, and today I've grown, and I don't think the same anymore. I think that should be okay. I know it's all good to say like in this world, but I feel like maybe when Emerson didn't write this in the world that we live in today, where we have the internet now, and the internet is a lot less forgiving of people who contradict themselves. I mean, people dig up tweets from years ago, and no one wants to give the person, I don't know, some no one wants to allow the person the space to grow. No one tries to give the person any benefit of doubt that, oh, maybe this guy is not the same person who tweets or who tweeted this, I don't know, 10 years ago, and they want to like keep beating him with a stick and ask you to keep on apologizing again and again and again. But if there's anything this I got from this part of the book is, do not let what people think like determine what you should do. Still, you grow better when you allow yourself the chance to be able to change your thoughts and your ideas. Anyways, I think I've talked about this enough now, and you probably get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. The next is trying to like insist on your own originality. I think like his message here is like very loud and very loud. It's like you should be able to embrace your uniqueness and never settle for like imitation or imitating other people. Sort of like emphasizing that our own gifts that we've cultivated through our lives, they hold a lot of power, more than any talent that we could adopt from anyone else. Sort of says this thing about how you cannot, Shakespeare could not have become Shakespeare by studying Shakespeare. So studying other people, we can get ideas, we can get inspiration, but we're not going to be like them just from studying them. And furthermore, we should not want to be like them. We should try to be our own selves. We should try to be unique. We should try to bring out what's best in us. This is something that I found that I needed to do as well, because I would often see great people and I would want to be like them. But the truth is, those great people did not become great by wanting to be like other great people. The greatness, or at least for me anyways, the things that I would admire about them are the unique things about them. So I think this part of the book urges us to find that something in us, which sounds easier than it is in reality. It's not very easy to find, I would say, the unique things about ourselves. I guess some people have. For other people, like it's almost like a never-ending search to find, I guess, their talents. Or maybe it's easy, you know. Um, Anyways, it does urge us to find that each of us has something incredible to offer to the world. We should find it, embrace it, or strive to find it and strive to embrace it. And in this, we're going to unleash some extraordinary potential. Yeah, like we get inspired from others and learn from others, but imitation should never be the goal. Yeah, the next thing is silence. I think this one right here is sort of like one of the, if not, I feel like the one that I thought about a whole lot from everything that I got to pull from this book is there's this quote, say something like, just because you've spoken nothing when others spoke, and you've given no opinion, you think that your verdict is still expected with curiosity as a reserved wisdom. It's like, no, that's not the case. Your silence answers very loud. Says you have nothing to utter, and your fellow men have learned that you cannot help them, for oracles will speak when they have something to say. So it's this idea that you're keeping shut when other people are talking, and you're thinking that your silence shows that you're wise, but like that's not the case. And I found this to be really interesting because I used to live my life by this other quote. I can't remember who it's from, that goes something like, it's better to shut your mouth and let other people assume that you're stupid than open your mouth and erase every doubt. So I would go in rooms and hear people arguing about something, and I would decide just not to indulge because I sort of had this fear of thinking out in public, you know, because a lot of times when you're having this, I don't know, debates or conversations, sometimes you've not had a chance to think about these ideas a lot, and you're thinking out in public, and there's this fear that you could say something wrong. It even goes back to, I guess, the other point of the fear of somehow contradicting yourself in future, because right now in the moment you're talking about something and you're thinking out loud in public, mulling these ideas over, and odds are you're bound to say something not necessarily stupid, but something that you haven't thought properly, and in future you might learn more that contradicts what you say now, and you know your ego would not want to let you change your thoughts. So here Emerson reminds us that our silence speaks volumes, and remaining silent when important discussions are happening around us, it would give others the impression that we have nothing to contribute, and our opinions really hold no value. I feel like it's our ego that makes us think that our silence holds more value than it actually does. So I feel like we should not mistake silence for, you know, where was I going with this? Sort of like not mistaking silence for like wisdom. Not everyone who is silent is wise. So like your encourage yourself to a lot of times speak up and not. I think the key is just not to be very arrogant with your thoughts and your ideas. I mean, if it's something you're sure about, then of course you're sure. But if you're humble enough to know that you're sort of thinking out loud, or sort of like working out these ideas in public, or whatever thoughts or philosophies you have about whatever conversation it is that's going on, you should be humble enough to know that this could change in future. So like share your thoughts and let your voice be heard. I mean, remember, like he says in the book, oracles speak. So I found this to be really interesting. Probably not everyone would agree with this. I think some people would still believe that it might be better to be silent. And I also agree that in some conversations, sometimes if you realize that it's not going anywhere, sometimes it's probably just better to be silent, because then it's just like empty barrels making noise, right? So yeah, I just found this to be really, really interesting, and something that I had to like consider, you know, and think about a lot while I was reading the book. Yeah, the next thing, and one of the final things that, well, this I must mention that even though I'm just sticking to 5 things I pulled from this book, I pulled a lot more than this. But I thought to make a video about this 5 because I found them to be particularly like really, really interesting. So the last thing I want to talk about is like this idea of apologizing when you go to see a friend. He has a quote that goes something like, if you visit your friend, why do you need to apologize for having not visited him in the past and waste your time and defacing the act of you go visiting him and defacing the facts that you visiting him like in the present moment. So it's like visit him now and let him feel the highest love from the fact that you have gone to see him or her, whoever it is, and not just wasting time apologizing for the fact that you had not, I don't know, come to see him in the past. It's I think the idea here is not just as shallow as not apologizing, because I think that apologies do have a place, especially if you realize you've done something wrong. But I think the idea is you need to be fully present in relationships, and not waste too much time and holding back growth for by dwelling and apologizing for things that you didn't do. Let them feel the love or let them feel the apology in you doing something in the present moment and making the most of the interactions with the people that we love. So I guess the next time it is that you visit a friend, you should ditch the unnecessary apologies and like let them feel the love through your presence in this moment. At this point, I think I'm just repeating myself, over and over again. But yeah, after all, I think it's like the quality of time that you spend with people is the stuff that matters. So that is the thing that we should strive towards. The final thoughts on the book. I enjoyed reading this a lot. I feel like I would also admit that like a lot of stuff went over my head while reading the book. There were, I think, about 6 essays in the book that I read. I think Ralph Waldo Emerson has like a lot more essays than those, and some of those essays were more accessible than others. And when I say accessible, what I mean is I found it easy to grok the ideas in them. Some of them were just like I just couldn't like get too much from them, not because they weren't as good as the other ones. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe. So it's one of those books that I think that I would be able to get a lot more from in future when I'm smarter, hopefully. So yeah, I found it to be a really good book. I believe that these thoughts can be applied to like various aspects in our life, whether or not you're like an avid reader, and whether or not you even agree with them. Like even if you don't agree with them entirely, it's something that like could be worth mulling over in your mind. It could make you reconsider some stances. Even if you don't agree, like I said, it could give you more reasons why your stance is, I don't know, better than his, if that's what you choose to do. So anyways, it's something that I'll recommend for everyone to read if you want to. Obviously there is no like storyline, so it's not exciting in that way, but it is exciting in the sense that it gives you like a lot of stuff to think about. Yeah, anything that I found. I think I found a lot of things in the book that like I think I would go on and live my life by, sort of life changing stuff. I've been talking about the book to a lot of people since I started reading it, and I think those are the kinds of books that I find that I love to read these days. Just books that I can't help talking about anytime I meet people. Anyways, that's it for today. I think I've talked a lot in this one. Catch you in the next one. Love you guys. I'll go away now. Bye.